What's up? Is your boy Brian, the Casual Brian, and today this is another episode of the Casual Podcast. The Casual Podcast is brought to you by the Casual Brand. The Casual Brand casually connecting you to one another. So there's a lot to get into, a lot to talk about today. Um, I hope everyone had a great weekend. Also, thank you. And if you are watching this on Facebook, we are coming to you live from Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Drop a comment in the comment section and let me know where you're watching from. And if you haven't already followed or subscribed, make today the day that you follow and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all the fun conversation. We got a lot to get to today. We got your boy Desantis is still MIA, although he's made an appearance, but he's still MIA as the governor. The crazy situation with Antonio Brown and the Bucks, um, Omicron, and the question of are the vaccines working, and then lastly, we'll probably, hopefully, have some time for some tweets as well as balanced life. So let's go ahead and just like get right into it. So I think I want to start with Antonio Brown. So let me first, if you're not familiar with what happened to Antonio Brown yesterday, uh, in the middle of the game, took off his jersey, took off his shirt, and left the field. It was actually a pretty crazy sight to see. I'm on the fence if I want to put a photo up about it, but it was wild. I saw it happening live. Actually, I didn't see it happening live because I watched Red Zone because I once you go red zone, you don't go back. And so I was watching it, and they cut away to it, and they gave no context, no reason, and so we had no understanding of why it was happening. So um, I was very, I was like, man, this is just a bad look, and I already knew what the narrative is going to be, and it sure enough, it was. Everybody they have their feelings about Antonio Brown. Oddly enough, I was talking to my father about it earlier that day. He was saying, he's a troubled guy. And I was saying, well, he's been pretty solid recently. Um, and then boom, So it's interesting. But the main thing was I had no context, I had no reason. So what has come out is that Antonio Brown was due for certain incentives. Like if he got 8 more catches, I believe it's 8 more catches, 55 more yards, and another touchdown, I believe it was, or another 2 touchdowns, or whatever the amount was, he would get incentives, and it would equal out to be about $1 million. I believe it was like $333,000 each incentive. And so the issue was they didn't want to pay him that. Now, I haven't talked to Bruce Arians, I haven't talked to Tom Brady, so I can't confirm that. But I I can confirm that that is true, that he was owed that, and that's how far he was away from each of the things. Give or take 55 yards, give or take a touchdown, give or take 8 receptions, and so it's interesting to think maybe that's true. I can't say for sure it's true because I haven't talked to any of the Bucks players, and apparently Bruce Arians said that he tried to get Antonio Brown to go back in the game. We need to talk to Antonio Brown. I would like to hear from Antonio Brown and see if that is indeed the case. Because if that's the case, that's terrible. But before I can jump in all the way on an opinion, I want to know if that's indeed what happened. And if that's what happened, it's terrible. Now, what I can say and what I don't like and what I'm tired of is the narrative and the treatment of black athletes, specifically in the NFL, specifically wide receivers. I don't know what it is about the wide receiver position, but there's always this narrative about them being difficult, about them being divas, about them being this, that, this, that, this, that. And it doesn't matter how good you are or how much of the time, and let's think about it. Randy Moss, they love Randy Moss now. They love Randy Moss now, but when he was a player, they trashed this guy. They made it sound like this guy was just the worst thing ever, just out of control, doesn't care about anybody but himself. And you just continue to see this narrative over and over and over when it comes to receivers. Why is that? You know what I mean? And certain receivers, because I've never heard them talk about Wes Welker like that, or Cole Beasley like that, or Thielen. And then some would say, well, they're not like that. Well, I don't know. I don't know. That's a big coincidence. That's a big leap of faith that I'm not willing to take. I'm over the conversation. I'm over the freeness that people feel to talk about athletes, certain athletes, to create narrative around athletes as if they know, as if their opinion is that. I I would prefer them talk more about their play than about them personally, because you don't know them personally and you don't really need to be speaking about them personally. I'm over it, man. I feel like the like the commentators, ESPNs of the world, uh, made Terrell Owens' career the way it ended up being. The guy was a hard worker. The guy was a phenomenal receiver. Yes, he was a little wild or whatever, but no more than Dwight Howard. No more than Peyton Manning, in my opinion, but people would disagree because they just see it differently. And so someone's I'm pretty active on Twitter, and someone said, well, I made it about race. This is a frustrating statement. This is a frustrating notion that I'm making it about race. I don't make it about race. If it's about race and I see and I think it's about race, I'm going to talk about that. That's not making it about race. It's just such a lazy, dismissive thing to say. Here we go. They're making it about race. We're not making it about race. If it's about race, maybe just because you don't see how race plays a part doesn't mean it's not about race. It's ridiculous. You have to just step back and look at the treatment, the discussion, the consistent way that they discuss and describe black athletes. And then you can ask yourself the question, is it about race? I would argue it is. I would argue that it keeps happening the same way. But I understand that everyone doesn't share my perspective, which is why I share my perspective. So that maybe you can understand my perspective. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to come over to my side, but at least you'll understand my perspective. You'll understand what I'm saying. And that's the importance of sharing perspective, hearing other perspectives. I want to hear your perspective. Last week, I got into a huge discussion over the difference between agnostic, um, atheist, and being a believer, being a Christian. And it was great. I heard a lot of different perspectives. I heard a lot of ways of thinking that I had not can that I had not heard before. Now, I'm not saying that at the end of it I ended up agreeing with them, but it doesn't matter if I agree or not. We have an understanding. We've had a conversation. We've had a sharing of ideas, and as a result, we're all wider. We all have more depth. So I don't. It's hard for me to have a full opinion on Antonio Brown because I haven't heard from him. I've only heard from the other side. And so, if the case is there was something that he wasn't allowed to play, or some reason he didn't end up playing, it is suspicious. That's suspicious. That's interesting. In the words of the great Cardi B. Cardi B's great for sound bites and just like sayings that make no sense. Oh man. So yeah, Antonio Brown, I wish him well. If this is a mental health issue, then I hope he gets the help that he needs. If this is an issue of not wanting to give him incentives, then that's disgusting. And the NFL should be ashamed of themselves. I saw an article by the Washington Post saying that the NFL should be ashamed of themselves. And in a lot of ways, the NFL should be ashamed of themselves. But again, I'm not willing to jump in and say something if I don't know for sure. So another debate discussion that I've been finding myself in is this notion that Ron DeSantis, who's been missing in action as the governor of Florida, is somehow being unfairly targeted because he was taking his wife to cancer treatment. That's not true. That's not true at all. Okay? He took his wife to a cancer treatment on December the 29th, and only December the 29th. The rest of the time, he's been on vacation or just simply MIA. Now, this is important because they're trying to they're trying to make it sound like Democrats are making up this narrative by themselves. The idea, the notion, the information of him being on vacation came from his team. And initially they were saying, what's wrong with someone taking a break? Now, I agree with this. I do not like to criticize leaders for taking a break. It's important. They need breaks just like anyone else. Now, could he put out a tweet? Could he make a statement? Could he have somebody from his office make a statement? And let us not forget, he still hasn't said anything at all. At all. It is day 3 of the new year, January 3rd, 2022. And he hasn't said a thing. What is his plan? What are you doing? Do you care that over 75,000, who knows what the number is now? Last I checked, it was 75,000 people have been infected with COVID. Now, thank God, and I do, that Omicron appears, excuse me, to be less severe. But that doesn't mean that the hospitals are still not being overrun. That doesn't mean a lot of children are not getting sick. You know what I mean? It's just crazy to me how they no one seems to care that this guy is just not doing his job. You know what I mean? He's just not showing up to work. And it's not about, you know, cancer treatment. It's just not. It's just not even close to a realistic reason. You know, and then on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, him and his wife were at an event maskless in Miami, which is curious to me. I'm not going to call anyone a liar. I'm not going to say anyone's not telling the truth, but I'll say this. One, I've seen people who are getting cancer treatments, and the I and the to the best of my knowledge, if somebody is in the process of having cancer treatments, it would not be advisable for that person to be in a crowded room maskless. That his wife is the definition of immunocompromised. So I'm a little confused. You know what I'm saying? It's confusing to me when you're telling me that you took your wife to a cancer treatment on the 29th, and then 2 days later she looks great, she looks fine, healthy, and you're at an event in Miami where it's going down with COVID, and you're maskless. You know, I just I'm just not here for these false narratives. Florida is not the only free state. Florida is the state where you can do what you want. They're not going to stop you. And that's cool. If you want to live like that, that's great. This is the place to do it. Florida is the place to do it because they understand that the people living here want to live a certain way. That being said, DeSantis could at least say something. Hey, we're everything's good. This is we knew what was going to happen. We knew this was going to happen, and we're steady as steady ahead. Straight ahead. We're still going straight ahead. Or hey, things are getting a little bit crazy. Maybe wear a mask in public. I don't know. I just say something. Not everybody feels comfortable just going and doing whatever and not caring about numbers going up and down. You got to be the governor of the whole state, in my opinion. But it is Florida. And so in Florida, you do what you want to do. I just don't understand though why no one holds them accountable. I hate this like narrative of free versus free. It's not about free versus free. It's about how are you going to address the pandemic? If you don't think it's a big deal, or let's be more specific, how are you going to address COVID? If you don't think it's a big deal, you're not going to really react that much. You're not going to take that many preventative measures. And again, this is another thing that's very frustrating. This idea that the vaccines are not working. The vaccines are not designed to keep you from getting COVID. Let me rephrase that. The vaccines are not the vaccines are not designed to keep you from getting COVID perfectly. So they're not like 100%. Okay, so if you take a vaccine, it doesn't mean you'll never get COVID. That's never been what they've proposed. That's never been what they said. That's not what they do. The main thing that the vaccine does is keep you from getting severely ill, meaning having to go to the hospital or dying. And they have done that. And in addition to doing that, they do a good job of keeping you from getting it. Now, if you are constantly exposing yourself to virus, like as we're getting right now with Omicron, or the people in Florida during the summer, people in Texas during the summer, then the vaccines, it's everything about COVID is a numbers game. Yes, if it's spread out and there's not a lot of people with it, then it's not that dangerous. The majority of the people survive it. But because it's so contagious, it's the contagious element of COVID that makes it dangerous. Because what happens is, even though the percentages are small, if you have a big number of people, you know what I'm saying? So like a 1% of 100 is not that much, but 1% of a million, now you're starting to get into a lot of people. 1% of 10 million, now you're getting into even more people. And so that's what COVID does. It's super contagious, and so we get so many people infected. So we want to keep the numbers down so that it can stay not that big of a deal, not that big of a deal. It's great though that they've gotten better at dealing with it. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm very happy about that. But yeah, the vaccines are a good option. They are a safe tool. If you are a person who's considering it, I recommend it. I've been boosted and I've been fine. I've been in New York. I've been in Florida. You know, by the way, New York, man, I don't think that was a good look. Personally, me, Brian, I personally don't think it was a good look to have the New Year's thing. I get it. I understand the signaling. You want to show that we're not letting this thing defeat us, but at the same time, with the level of spread, how fast and how easy this thing spreads, I don't know if it's worth it. We'll have to see. You know what I mean? That's the crazy thing about it. Like, we don't even know what's going to happen based on New Year's and all these bowl games. I also don't understand why we're still having like football. I just don't. I don't know. It's just it blows my mind. It blows my mind. So anyway, lastly, it's the new year, and I'm very excited to be in 2022. 2021 was a great year for me, personally. Uh, Withstanding that, a lot of people had a lot of difficulty, a lot of struggle, but I had a good year, and I'm looking forward to building on the good things that I did. So one of the main things that I did, and one of the main things that I'm going to be discussing and pushing this year, is balance. I really think that a lot of people are out of balance. Their lives are not balanced. Their work life is not balanced. Their love life is not balanced. Um, the way that they pursue money is not balanced. And so I'm hoping to help people live a more balanced life. Talk about balance more often. You know what I'm saying? It's just, if you can find balance, if you can get your life in balance, you can enjoy your life with less than if you're out of balance but you have more. I I live by that. No one can convince me of otherwise. If you have $1 million, but your life is out of balance and all you do is work, you're not going to enjoy it. That's my quote today. It doesn't matter what you get in life. If your life is not in balance, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. And I love to see anybody that can make an argument otherwise. You're going to be tired. You're going to not feel great. You're not going to feel fulfilled. You're not going to feel happy. It takes a lot of effort to move from a state of living out of balance to living in balance. But once you get it, once you understand how it feels, once you understand the principles of living balance, I think it's easier than that, and it's easy to maintain. It doesn't mean that once you get it once, it's going to stay. You got to keep adjusting. Life is always adjusting. Life is always changing. So you have to keep doing that. But balance, balance, balance is what we're going to be preaching. So last night what was I doing? I was on YouTube for some reason. I was clearing out my YouTube. I'm trying to adjust. Gonna make another run at YouTube. I know. It's like doing the impossible, but I was just clearing my page out, trying to get it ready to start, 2022. And I came across a video that I've done that's actually got a decent amount of views. I was quite surprised. It's actually picking up right now. Um, and it's a video I did about this quote from BoJack Horseman, and it's a great quote. Um, but the video is super deep. Now, granted, I'm listening to myself, and man, I sound like I just woke up. I'm like, you know, this and this. I don't know what's going on. Definitely didn't do it with this mic, but the content of what I'm saying is actually pretty dope. You know what I mean? Like I was like, wow, this is a good video. So I'm going to be sharing that. But the quote is, so it's okay. Let me give you the context. He's at a wedding party, a rehearsal, wedding rehearsal party, whatever, dinner, and he gives this speech, and it's like when you know, you know, and so then it causes the bride to think, well, I don't know, which side note, you don't know. No one knows. You might be confident, you might feel good about it, but no one knows. And I think the majority of people will have their doubts because it's such a finite thing. It's like, man, it's just us for the rest of the time. So anyway, so she's like, I don't know. I'm calling the wedding off, and they're like, oh my god, what did she do? So he goes and he finds her in the bathroom, and she's like, I just don't know. And he's like, yeah, no one knows. It's like fake or whatever. And she's like, what should I do then? Should I just settle? He's like, yes, settle. He's like, otherwise you're gonna get older, and you're gonna get more alone, and then you're gonna find yourself with everybody loving you, but nobody liking you, and that's the loneliest feeling ever. And if 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 you understand the idea of like real love, it doesn't make sense, or is not, the quote doesn't stand up. But what he's talking about is everybody loves, really it's the inverse. Most people, that's not even fair too, because love is so deep, and it includes so many different things. You can liking someone is included in loving them, or a part of, but it doesn't have to be necessarily. You can have a family member that you love and you'll be there for, but you don't like them. You know what I'm saying? And in a relationship, you can be in love with somebody even when you're in a time where you're not liking them that much. We most of the times people think that you're only loving somebody when you're liking them. But when you really in my opinion, when you really love somebody, it's going to include the times when you don't really like them, you know? But I don't really think that's what he was getting at. I think what he's talking about is how everybody loves celebrities, but they don't know them really, you know? I was watching this biop I don't know what it was. It's like a movie, a fake movie about Lucy and Desi. And man, they were just crappy people. You know what I mean? And but Lucy was the star. She was how they made their money. And so everybody loved Lucy, literally, but no one liked her. And the way that Tim Keller says it is to be known. So that's really what the quote is saying. To be known and approved, you know, to not be liked from afar, to be loved from afar, to be loved in a unintimate way, in a way that's not intimate because they don't know you. If someone doesn't know you, then their love or like or affection or approval doesn't mean as much. Doesn't mean anything really. I don't care if somebody thinks I'm the dopest, or I don't care if someone thinks I'm the dumbest if they don't know me, because you don't know me. So you're not basing it off anything that's going to affect me. But if you know me, if you spend some time with me, one thing that I really like is that my friends, the people that know me the best, tend to have a good opinion about me. That makes me feel good. They're the people whose opinion I care about the most. Them, my family, Darcel, and those are the people that have access to actually hurt me or build me up. But the thought of everybody loving you and nobody liking you, it's a scary feeling. I don't want to be like that. So anyway, so it's a good video. I'm gonna post it. I want to do more stuff like that. I like to do stuff like that. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. Apparently that was the best way against just BoJack images and some meditation music. I wonder how far that video is going to go. It's trending pretty hard. It was like nothing, and now it's like taking off. So anyway, let me see if I can do some tweets before we get off. And again, thank you so much, everybody that stopped by. I've seen a couple people come by. Um, Again, I want to invite you to subscribe, follow, share this with people. I'm going to try to do like clips of different things. So, like the Antonio Brown part, the Desantis part, the COVID part, this part right here. But really, what it comes down to is I need to hire an editor, or maybe I just need to pay my editor more, and then he can do this too, in addition to the other stuff I have him doing. Having a business is tough. Let me say that. Let me say that. There's nothing like seeing that money just leave your account every day, every week. Day. Oh my gosh, thinking about it. Technically, it is leaving every day, but I don't think about it like that, or at least I try not to. All right, here we go. I'm gonna get these tweets. We're gonna do like 2 minutes though. That's another thing that's changing. I'm gonna do hard out on um 30 minutes from now on. Can't do it. Can't do it. Got to be out. Got a lot of stuff I got to get done. 6 notifications. Ugh. I'll get back to them. Let's see what's trending. Fans of Florence Pugh. I don't know who that is. None of this trending thing I care about. Your wife is in my DM, baby. Oh, Connor. I think Connor just completely fell off, man. And it's sad because he is a great fighter. He just doesn't have the sauce anymore, man, That's the thing. You just don't want to be Connor, in my opinion. You don't want to end like Connor. This Fauci thing. Tony Two Mask. Oh God. Vax Americans should only eat in restaurants with vaxxed and boosted people. It's not what he said. But yes, you should. Like New York does. And I think it's great because there's less chance to spread. Period. It's not that deep. It's not personal. There's just less chance to spread. Cowards turn on their longtime friends. Oh my gosh. Ben Shapiro is just, I don't know, man. I used to have more respect for him. Not that my respect means anything to Ben Shapiro, but he's just lost it. School scramble as kids return. I mean, like, I understand wanting to get kids back in. I just think it's like you can't really do it right now. You gotta give it at least 2 weeks. At least I would say wait till the numbers start trending down. You know what I mean? Once the numbers start trending down, then you can do it safely. Anyway, that's my stream for today. I don't want to go too long. I definitely can't go over 30 minutes, but I hope everyone has a great day. I will be back. I'm looking to start doing every day, Monday through Friday at 9:30. So be on the lookout. This week it might not happen because I'm still in Florida, but I'm striving to get 9:30. So if that time sounds good for you, if it works for you, let me know. And if not, we'll find a time. We're going to find the time. All right. Have a great day, and remember to stay casual.